So you're thinking about buying an RV or moving into this lifestyle? We're going to talk today about things that we feel that you might need to know or might be helpful in your decision as far as what type of rig that you might want to actually get. Hi everyone, this is David with Tigner Adventures, and my wife Ninette and our little cat Tansy. We live full-time in our motorhome. And as we travel around, people tend to have questions, it seems like, about what type of rig they should buy. And they really don't understand all the different types and some of the maybe nuances and things of, why each rig. Because they always ask, what type of rig do you think would be best for us? And they really don't understand that there's bumper poles, fifth wheels, class C's, A's, things like that. So we're going to kind of talk about this today. And you know what? This is a beginner video just to help those individuals out. So those of you that subscribe to our channel and are used to watching more complex videos, we are going to do a little change up this week, and we're going to talk about this beginning stuff. And then next week we're actually going to talk about things that you should probably look at when you're actually going to buy a rig, whether it's new or used. So the first thing we're going to talk about is RVs in general. What are they? What types are there? There's all kinds of them, and you have to decide which one you might like. So I'm going to show you some RVs around the park here, and we're going to kind of just give you an idea about them so that maybe at least you know what they are, for those of you that are new and don't know kind of the lingo. We're going to kind of tell you that and give you some ins and outs of each, and just kind of try to help you out in deciding what type you want. So one thing to point out when you're looking at different things, or you want to go full-time, that's what I was talking about in this video, was going full-time, the 5 steps you needed to, and the first step was to get an RV or something that you were going to live in. So it could be a car. We have friends that are in their car and they just travel around. We actually met a lady that has a Tesla, and her dog sleep in the Tesla. That has a lot of room. It was really amazing how much room that had available and how well that worked for her. So cars can be, just car camping here and there, and you don't have to worry. You can get pretty much into anywhere. The next step up from there is a van. So here's some vans that are here in the park, and they actually work out pretty good. You can buy either just a standard van and make it a setup for you to sleep in, or you can buy these custom vans that cost a little bit more, but each little step is just a little bit more money. So these vans, depending on if you do the work yourself, you're just going to buy a shell of a van and do it, you can get into a van fairly inexpensively. But if you buy them already done and everything, they can be pretty expensive. They can easily be up to $80,000 to $100,000. So it's not that you're saving money by going smaller. In a lot of cases, you might be spending more money if you're trying to go smaller. First trailer that we actually got into was a tent trailer. And tent trailers they call them pop-ups. And what they do is you roll it up and little tents come out on the sides of them. And that's why they call it a tent trailer. The tent trailers are nice for just camping. You don't see too many people using those for full time because they're just a lot, it's like camping in a tent basically. So which, people do that too. So I shouldn't discount that. All right, so the other kind is an actual truck camper. So this particular camper fits on this truck right here. He's got a utility bed on there. He just puts the camper on there. And so you can take that, set it back down off the truck anytime you want, and then just drive the truck around. There's not a lot of room in a truck camper, but also if it's just you and the truck camper, pretty small area you can get into, just like if you were car camping. So this unit here is what they call a bumper pole. And this particular trailer has 2 slides on it. So you can get them with slides or without slides. But if they stick out here and they hook on the back of your truck, they're called a bumper pole. So there's different sizes of bumper poles. Here's a little bit medium size. Here's a really small one. And then to contrast that, here is a really long one. Sometimes you wonder how some of these that have so many slides on them can actually not fall over. So anything that you're going to hook to the hitch of your truck is called a bumper pole. So I should tell you that the reason I think bumper poles are pretty popular because they can be pulled by a bigger SUV or they can be pulled by a truck. So depending on the size of the bumper pole kind of determines on the size of the rig. You have to have enough power, and when you look at your rig, your trucks, whatever it may be, SUV trucks, it's going to say what your towing capacity is, what weight can it actually tow, and that's what you need to look at to determine if that's going to work for the trailer that you're actually looking at. All right, so then the next category is fifth wheels. And if you see here, this is a fairly good size fifth wheel with a nice slide out on it. Fifth wheels have this big section that comes up and actually sits inside the truck, the back bed of the truck. And usually within the fifth wheel, that's where the beds are. Sometimes you'll have the living room up there, but they are usually a lot taller rigs and also a lot bigger, a lot more storage, a lot heavier, requires a truck to pull them, and depending on the size of fifth wheel that you get, then you have to have a pretty good sized truck, and a lot of those have to actually be with dualies. So that's dual tires in the back to carry the actual weight of the fifth wheel that's sitting on there on that hitch. So one of the drawbacks to the fifth wheel is the hitch that has to go in the truck. So when you put the hitch in the truck, that takes up most of your back end of your truck. And so you can't store a lot of things in there. And if you do put things in there, then they have to be low enough that your trailer can still switch back and forth. The other thing is with the fifth wheel is that you got to be really careful with a short bed truck. You have to have a special hitch that will allow it to move around. Otherwise, you end up backing, if you try to do a 45 turn jackknife it, you can actually dent the side of the trailer and the side of your truck. So then the next step is what they call a Class C. And a Class C motorhome looks about the same as this one here. So they're gonna have some kind of a part that goes over the top. And that area up there is usually a bed. And so you can actually be in a bed there. And then also, I guess I need to back up for a second, because sometimes you'll see what they call a Class B. It's really short, so it doesn't extend out so far. And usually it's more like a van with a piece that's sticking over the front of it would be called a Class B. And then we move up to the Class C. Okay, so here is a Class A motorhome. This one happens to have slides too. We'll show you ours. Ours doesn't have slides, but that's a personal preference. Some people like slides and some don't. The Class A's have a motor of their own. This particular one is called a diesel pusher, and you'll notice that the door is right up front. And so that's typical of a diesel pusher. And you can always tell diesel pushers when you're going down the road because the door will be right up front, like your school buses and things like that. So that's because the engine isn't there, and so you just walk in, it's nice and flat going in. On a gas rig, the engine is right there, so the door will always be in the middle of the coach or somewhere away from the very front of it. So immediately you can tell if it's a diesel pusher or not. Also, when they drive by and you can see the diesel engine grill in the back, that's another indication that that's a diesel pusher. Diesel pushers are nice, they're heavy, they can carry a lot. They typically have more power than a lot of other units. But one of the drawbacks to the diesel, as soon as you say, I want diesel, pretty much on anything, the price of your RV is going to be probably at least $10,000 more than a gas unit would be. And maintenance is a lot more on a diesel pusher or on any kind of diesel rig than it is on gas. So for example, a diesel pusher holds probably somewhere around 15-20 gallons of oil. So every time you got to do an oil change, that's that 15 or 20 gallons of oil that you've got to buy, plus the service. You got to take it into a shop that will do work on those, which is typically some kind of truck shop. So most people, when they have a diesel pusher, unless they figure out how to do it on their own, they're going to be paying around $500-600 to get an oil change, compared to a gas rig that takes 4 quarts typically of oil and costs probably about $25, $30 to get their oil changes done. So a major difference. So you just have to kind of keep that in mind as you're looking at some of those rigs. Plus, diesel, at least right now, is considerably more than gas, and in some places around here it's almost $1 more per gallon than what gas is right now. So you have to kind of look at that. Also, because diesel is so big, all right, the video I did right here, that was on changing my duals. I had a leaking seal on my duals, and I changed that. It took all I could do just to lift that hub off, that dual hub off the back of my rig. A diesel, those things are so big, you need something special to be able to get those on and off. So doing some things yourself, you know, as far as DIY type things, gets a little bit harder. It's not that you can't do it, it's just something that you should be aware of. It does take a lot more to take care of it. So here's our rig, and you notice this is a Class A. We have no slides. We chose that. That was part of our checkoff list, that we didn't want slides. And in our particular case, we have 2 people, so it's not a big deal. And we have a little cat. Now, if you have dogs or kids, it makes a big difference. So you notice that our door is back a ways, and that's because this is a gas unit. So the motor actually sits up here in front. And so because of that, it takes up around the front area, so we can't have a door in the front because we can't, our chair has to be right there for the passenger chair. So that's one of the big differences with that kind of a setup. So people are always asking us, you know, what do you think we should get? What type of rig? And one of the first questions I always ask is, first of all, are you a truck person? If you are a truck person or have a truck, then maybe your options are trailers. If you don't have a truck and you don't want to buy one because they can get pretty darn expensive, where $50,000 to $80,000 for a big truck to pull a big rig, that's a lot of money. That's not counting the trailer. So in that case, then you may want to go with a Class A, B, or C type rig that actually has a motor in it that will actually drive you down the road, and then just tow your car along. And it also comes down to, you know, gas mileage. You know, some rigs, you know, our big rig only gets 5.5, 6 miles a gallon, but our car, when we get to a place, like for example, we're here in Yuma right now, we're actually work camping here for 6 months. So that's 6 months that we're driving around our little car that's getting 25 miles to the gallon. A lot better gas mileage than a bigger rig. So if you have a big truck, I know that they get upwards of 18 to 20, some of the new ones, when they're just driving around. But those are things you got to think about, is gas mileage and how easy it is to drive something really big around the city or little towns and things like that. Well, hopefully that is helpful to you. I know this is a very beginning video and it's not going to be for everyone. And so I understand that. Next week we'll be talking about buying a rig and things that you need to be looking at, and not just trusting what other people tell you. So we're going to give you some ways to kind of check things out, some options for you to help you as you actually want to purchase a rig. But until then, hopefully this will at least give you some information about the kind of rig, and then we'll do that next week. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and end this video, and we'll hope to see you down the road, and hopefully you'll be on our next video. So take care.